Hello everyone, my name is EVOO and welcome to Cooking with the Koyas. You know, when it comes to making a fantastic roast beef, you don't necessarily always need to make prime rib. You could use any cut of meat you want and end up with a fantastic roast beef. We've got a sirloin tip roast we're going to make today, but you could make this recipe with the eye of the round roast, the rump roast, the round roast, any of what I'm going to say, those lower end cuts of meats, but you're going to have a high end roast beef. Absolutely delicious. Let's get started right now. So here I have a very inexpensive 3-pound roast. Okay, so first thing we have to do, we want to season our roast, and one of the keys is to either season it the night before or the morning of when you want to cook it. So either way is fine. If you could do it the night before, it's preferred, but the morning of is also fine also. So what I have here, this is a 3-pound roast, so I have half a teaspoon of salt per pound. So it turns out to be 4 grams of salt per pound of meat. That's the ratio, and that's important because you want your roast to be well seasoned and you want just enough salt. So again, a half a teaspoon per pound is the ratio that I like to use. It might look like you're adding a lot, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of meat that you're seasoning. So half a teaspoon per pound, 4 grams per pound. Okay, now the other trick I like to do, you can season this now with some black pepper to taste, but what I found is I like to use this Montreal Steak Spice, which adds an amazing flavor to your roast beef. So that's one of the keys that I like to do, let's say a little bit differently, when I'm spicing my roast beef. And here all you do is just spice it all around and add that. Now again, you can use black pepper, but the Montreal Steak Spice adds an amazing taste. Alright, that's it. That's enough. So now, quite simply, all I'm going to do is cover this and put it in the refrigerator so it can rest until it's time to bake. That's it. That's the initial part is now done. In the fridge it goes. Time to give it a rest. So it's time to take our roast out of the fridge. Let me take it out. There we go. And what we want to do now is let this roast come up to room temperature. I'm going to let it sit out here at least for an hour. So by bringing the roast to room temperature, it's going to cook more evenly, and this will also help retain the juices when we cook it. So we're going to let it sit out here for about an hour before we fire up our oven. So our roast has been resting. Actually, it's been about an hour and a half now. So I have my oven starting to preheat it to 250 degrees. So we are going to cook this on a very low heat. So 250, we're starting to preheat, and I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil into a Dutch oven. Let's fire up our heat, because what we want to do now at this point, folks, is quite simply, we just want to brown the outside of our roast. That's going to help sear in and keep in those juices. Plus, it's going to give a beautiful color to the outside of our roast. So you can see a little bit of liquid was released, but not much. Most of it is retained in the roast. All right, so let's start to get this to sizzle up. In the meanwhile, we are also after going to add a carrot and an onion. So I can start to prep the carrot right now. It's just a small carrot. You can add a large one if you like. Okay, I'll just leave that aside. Multitask while we get this up to temperature. All right, we got a little sizzle going. Now that I remembered to turn my microphone on. I do that all the time. Okay, so we're just going to let that brown. We'll let that sizzle for minute or two just to get it browned up nicely. So let's take a look. Okay, it's starting to brown up. I'm going to give it another
give it one more minute. Get that nice and crispy on the outside there, just a little bit longer. Time to take another look, but actually before we do, I just want you to notice, you see here, there's not much fat on this roast, but when we do roast it, we're going to have this fat side pointing, facing upwards. So let's take a look. Okay, see, that's the color you want right there. A little bit of charring, that's perfect. Now we'll do the same to the other side, and then we're going to do the face of it here as well. We're going to kind of brown it all around. Okay, let's take a look there. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good color. So let's turn it on its face now. And let's just brown that side a bit. That's looking good. I see a little bit of red here. We'll just do a little bit on this side just to add, again, a little more color. Let's give that just a few seconds on that side. Just to remove some of that red. And we'll do the same thing here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there we go. And a little bit on this side. Okay, and I see a little bit of red there, so we're just going to turn it. There we go. Let's get that cooked just for a few seconds, just to brown it up again, and again, just to sear those juices inside this roast. Alrighty, there's our fat side up. Move that from the heat just a bit. We are going to add 1 onion. So I'm just going to quarter it. And then I have this 1 carrot. It's not a very big carrot, but it's 1 carrot. And we're going to quarter that as well. And we'll add the 1 carrot in there also. Okay. So now we need our temperature probe. And you want to put it, you want it in right in the middle, in the thickest part of the roast. So let's see here, if I go in that far, about there, let's go right in the middle, right there. We're going to set the temperature probe to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to cook it to 130 at a very low heat. As I mentioned earlier, the oven is preheated to 250 degrees, and we're going to let that cook until it hits 130 degrees. Now every oven is different. The roasts are all different. The temperature of the roast, if you let it come to temperature, come to room temp, maybe longer or not as long. It all depends on the temperature of the meat. So it could be anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes per pound. We'll see how it goes. This is 3 pounds, so it could take around an hour. Let's find out. So I'm going to put the lid on, and let's get it in the oven. Well, in the oven we go. Okay, and we'll leave our temperature gauge there, and now we just wait. We let it patiently bake. We have hit our temperature, and in case I didn't mention it, the reason I could turn the oven off, the reason we went with 130 degrees inside temperature for the roast is that's medium rare, and you do not want to overcook those less expensive cuts of meat. So medium rare is perfect for this, and that's why we went with 130. And yes, I know we're done. Let's stop that right now. Okay, and what we can do, oh yeah, that's looking really good. So let's take our roast out. I'm going to leave the temperature probe in there because while this is resting, it's going to continue to heat and it's going to continue to cook. So I'm just going to loosely tent it with some foil, and we're going to let it sit. So this took just over 20 minutes per pound to cook. So let's call it an hour, better than an hour. So we're going to let it rest at least 30 minutes. General rule of thumb, half the amount of time it should rest that it has taken to cook. All right, so now we're going to be patient and rest. And with this, we have some beautiful juices in here. And this onion, what I'm going to do with the hand blender, immersion blender, we're gonna blend this up and make our gravy. I definitely want the carrot. I'm going to put the carrot in this bowl. Let's take that beautiful juice pour it into our bowl. Oh, that's full of flavor right there, folks. Full of flavor. Take my spatula, scrape it all out. All those juices. Oh, that's nice. Beautiful. Okay. Now, to our juice, I'm gonna add a little bit of onion. Now you could add as much as you want or all of it if you'd like. I'm gonna add just those onion hearts. There's another heart. There we go. And I'm going to, let me get my immersion blender. Let's get that blended up. You can slowly. Carrot gave me a little bit of a hard time there, but that's great right there. Okay, let's take a look. We got our gravy here, folks. Actually, it's got a nice color to it. It's kind of brownish orange because of that carrot. And I don't mind that consistency right there. Now, if you want to thicken this up, of course you can buy gravy thickener and use gravy thickener. Otherwise, a little bit of cornstarch, folks. 1 part cornstarch to 2 parts water. Mix that together and then add it to your gravy and blend it in. But honestly, this to me is thick enough. I'm going to leave it just the way it is. It's full of good flavor. But like I said, if you want to thicken, that's what you do. 2-to-1 ratio for cornstarch to water, and just add it and blend it in. So we're going to let that sit. And our inside temperature has already reached 136, so it's gained 6 degrees already, and it hasn't really been sitting that long at all. Okay, we've been resting patiently for 30 minutes, and I would like to show you, while we've been resting, take a look at, whoops, sorry about that. Take a look at our temperature. The one that's flashing is the temperature of the inside of the roast, which you can see is 144 degrees, and you can see we had it set for 130. So the inside temperature, even though we took it out of the oven, has still been going up. That's why it's so important to take it out at 130. Otherwise, it's going to actually overcook on you. So let's do the reveal here. Oh, there we go. Very nice roast right there, folks. The gravy in the gravy boat. So we will remove the string. Okay, let's start slicing. Now, the other key here, folks, very, very important. Slice as thin as you as thin as you possibly can. Okay. You definitely do not want thick pieces here. That's one of the tips when you're using a cut of meat that is, let's say, not as good as those more expensive cuts. Okay? The key is keeping the slices very, very thin. So the thinner, the better. Okay, I'm just going to cut a few slices here, because you know what I need to do, folks. But look at this color on this roast. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. You see that there? Phenomenal. And in fact, those juices, I can add that right into our gravy mix, because they're going to be delicious as well. But let me get a fork and a knife. We need a taste test. Oh yes, my favorite part, folks, right here. Oh, that's going to be good. A little bit of gravy. Oh, that carrot gives that gravy. It's going to give it a little bit of sweetness as well. That carrot definitely will. Okay, folks, the taste test. Oh my. You know what? By slicing it thin, it's not tough at all. In fact, it's tender. That salt that we put in is just the right amount of salt. And that Montreal Steak Spice adds an amazing, amazing flavor to this roast beef. And guess what? We put just the right amount of onion in with our gravy mix. I could have added it all, but it would have been a real strong oniony taste. But what I have here is a nice mix of onion and carrot in the gravy, the beautiful taste from the roast, and the spices we've added. Folks, we got a winner right here. You don't always need an expensive roast to have a good roast. In fact, the next time you're in the grocery store, try to find the most economical roast that you can. Try this recipe. You will be pleasantly surprised. And wherever you're tuning in from, folks, as always, I want to thank you for joining me in the kitchen today, and hopefully you'll spend some time in the kitchen too. It's a great place to be. Until next time, buon appetito. A little bit more. So good.